Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. So we're talking about advocacy programs today. Welcome, and I'm Johan Nilsson. I'm the CEO and founder of Start Deliver, and today we have a really special guest, and we're going to talk about this really interesting topic. But before we get into that, just to let everyone know who we are. So Start Deliver, we make a customer success platform software. And we are also doing training programs for customer success managers. So under Impact Academy, you can go training programs. So this is us. And what we do is we talk to customer success teams and organizations on a daily basis. And advocacy is such a key topic. And I would say a lot of times customer success want to do a lot more in this area, but they have not yet succeeded there. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And also just so everybody knows, you will get this material, you will get the presentations, you will get the recording, of course. And what we want you to do also is to ask questions. So feel free to post questions in Zoom. There is a Q&A tab. Just post your questions. It's a live webinar, so we will be able to take those questions in the end. So that's a little bit on the practical side, but I want to welcome our guest now. So we have Jade Cass from G2. G2 is a real expert in this area. And Jade, you're both a customer success manager and working with organizations that want to do more advocacy programs. So I think you're the perfect guest. So warm welcome.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for such a great introduction. I'm very happy to be here. This is a topic that I talk about practically every day, and I'm super passionate about, so really excited to dig through with you today. As you mentioned, I'm a customer success manager at G2. We are essentially where millions of people come to buy software. And yeah, on a day-to-day basis, talking with teams across different segments and different regions with different, customer profiles about ways to build their advocacy programs and make sure that we're finding ways to help our clients help us sell more.
Yeah, that's awesome. By the way, just curiosity, how did you get into customer success in the first place?
I really like the SaaS space, so I think that was sort of my starting base. New business is a little bit daunting for me. I love working with so many clients, being able to solve problems, and I think the best part about our job is that we can make the lives of our clients easier and better. It's something that I get a lot of satisfaction out of.
Super. But I think, most of us know about G2, and it's such a huge brand in this area. But maybe for someone who's completely new, maybe they just started in SaaS or in customer success, maybe you could tell us a little bit about G2. And also, I know you have a lot of data on this in this area on advocacy and reviews. So I think it's a great way also to understand better the kind of impact you have when you work with advocacy. So maybe we could start there today.
Perfect. Let me start sharing my screen as I have a couple of slides prepared for us. There we go. Wonderful. I wanted to start with this quote. Our incredible CEO just did a world road trip and produced this blog. And I think this is really fitting, especially for what we're talking about today. It's always important to have happy customers, but in critical and crucial times like we're in, it is incredibly important to double down on our happiest clients and leverage them as best we can. So wanted to start off with that. As far as G2 goes, essentially, we are a TripAdvisor for software. While we have paid partnerships with clients, the crux of what we do is offering a place and a space where like-minded peers can come to do research and find important pieces of software that are critical for their day-to-day, and make sure that they're making decisions that fit within what they're aiming to get out of the software they're looking to purchase. Why we are doing so well, I think, is because the need for people looking to purchase software to sort of validate their research with feedback from peers rather than only a pitch from a salesperson or a piece of content from a marketing person is ever increasing. So we can see that through the data in terms of traffic to our site specifically, the increased volume of reviews that we're collecting, and the increased amount of categories that we're adding to the G2 site. And that is a bit about G2 in general. I think it might make sense for us to dig in a little bit more to the crux of our topic today. So, why are reviews and customer advocacy important? So lots of different ways to slice the cake. I had a really wonderful Dutch manager who used to say that in order to overcome a problem, you need to think about it like an elephant. And if you want to eat an elephant, you have to do that in small bites. So it is a really huge and kind of growing and evolving area of what we're doing and what we're bringing to the business. So really important to, before we start, define what success is going to look like. So in the customer advocacy programs that we're planning to build out, what are we trying to get from them? Do we want to build credibility? Are we aiming to differentiate ourselves from our competitors? Is the main focus retention and growth? Are we trying to get insights to leverage that feedback from a product perspective, from an operational perspective? And essentially, I mean, these are all interlinked, but hopefully we're aiming to build relationships in a community so that our happy customers can spread the happiness and spread the joy.
Where would you say most start? Can you say anything? What's the typical first step, first bite of the elephant, if you like?
I mean, I acknowledge that I probably am a little bit biased because I'm a G2 CSM. But a lot of SMB clients specifically that we work with who aren't really sure, you know they want to dip their toes into the world of customer advocacy. They're now at a point where they've got, a growing customer base, and they're trying to figure out, where are we going with this? Getting feedback from your clients. And I think it's also a bit of a misconception that we should only try and solicit feedback from happy clients. But a simple review process, a survey, an NPS tool, and of course, customer success managers. We're speaking to our clients every day. Sometimes there is a bit of a disjunct between marketing or product or sales. So very basic feedback to start, and reviews is a great place to do it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So data, in our hearts, we know that this is true, but it's always good to have data to back up what we're talking about. There are a couple of different statistics out there. I've seen between 70 and 90, but this is a data point that G2 collected. We run a buyer's behavior report annually, and off the back of our 2021 report, we found that 86% of software buyers use peer review sites when buying software. So of course, sales and marketing are incredibly important, but we really can't underestimate the value of peer feedback. And we actually recently produced a case study with Dream Data, and this found that 63% of sales cycles are 63% shorter than the average sales cycle when a review site is part of the buying journey.
Wow. Yeah. So that speeds up things a lot. So I think this is really powerful, of course, data supporting, bringing in new customers. But it's also, I think, if we talk from a customer success point of view, of course, we're not responsible for bringing in new customers, but I believe, and I've seen this many times, that when you have a customer that is getting value from you and using your platform, if you get them to advocate for you, they become even more engaged in your product and in what you do. So it helps bringing in new customers. It also helps to reinforce the relationship you have with your existing customer. So I think it's and another note on that is also that it's also bringing if customer success can do more to help advocacy programs, that's a lot of value for the whole company, in addition, of course, to everything else we do in customer success. But so I think there's a lot of things to be gained by doing this. And maybe we should move into that as well, to more concrete, what can we do in customer success, and and where to start. I think that's sometimes we just do them ad hoc, but maybe we should look into what kind of structures can we put in place, and what's your take there?
Absolutely. I think the reality is we're never going to speak to a successful company who does not acknowledge that they are customer driven and that they take what their clients say seriously and that they bake that in, the direction that they're moving in. So it is an absolutely critical element of a company level strategy. That being said, it's not at the top of my to-do list every day to make sure that I'm, generating new advocates for any kind of advocacy program that G2 is building. But we have such excellent relationships with our clients, and we really know what's going on in their world. So different pieces of the advocacy puzzle include things like product reviews. Usually from a review, we can then pretty easily tell, is this a potential case study? Could we potentially ask this customer to join us in a speaking engagement? Could we potentially use this customer to create some kind of customer advisory board? So from a very small and minimal kind of ask, 5 to 10 minutes to leave a review, there's a lot of beautiful extra things that we can help build. And once that, initial review has been left, we can then pass the client on. We know they're happy, we know they're in a good space, and then whoever else needs to be involved can get on board.
And do you think should we use the same customer as in all these box examples here, or should we look at, should we identify is there different type of advocates? Some might do product reviews, some might be better in a speaking engagement. What's your experience there? Should we differentiate and segment potential advocates as well?
I think it's a really good question, and I know any CSMs listening will understand, we never want to overwhelm our clients. We never want to ask too much of them. So I think always, regardless what the scope of the engagement is, we need to be cognizant that this is extra time that our clients are taking to help us celebrate whatever we've asked them to engage with us on. In terms of segmentation, I think it's a case-by-case basis. And again, I think it's important to know what you're trying to achieve before figuring out who we're going to ask. You get some clients who really are just absolute champions and really love your product and will talk wherever you ask them to talk, and but I think having the end goal in mind is the crucial piece here.
And also sometimes maybe one customer is really is an advocate for you, but they can't write an official review, or they are limited by some reason, but they're happy to be on a one-to-one call with the prospect, or so there's also sometimes you need to work with what the reference or the advocate wants or can do as well, to fit them in wherever you can have them as advocate.
That's a really good point. It's like pretty particular, but G2 runs review campaigns for a lot of our clients, and there's different kinds of incentives that we can offer. So it can be something like an Amazon gift card, or it can be a charity donation. And it's really important to know, you know, if it's an enterprise account in Germany, probably an Amazon gift card is not going to be a suitable, you know, sign of gratitude.
No, that's a good point. Cool. So,
brilliant. Sorry, go for it.
Yeah, no, go. Continue. Yeah.
Wonderful. So how to begin building these customer advocacy programs? We've spoken about different options in terms of what they can look like, but now narrowing down into who we could actually potentially add to our list. Regardless of what the product is, regardless of what the size is, regardless of where we are, there are different, you know, there's some consistent touch points in a client life cycle that I think we can all relate to and understand. So figuring out who our ideal advocate profile would be, things to consider are things like activity levels, engagement, NPS, what we're aiming to achieve. Defining what's in it for them and showing gratitude. We've spoken about this, like super important to let them know the scope of what we're asking and to really show them that we are grateful, because it's not taken for granted. And then in terms of like the longevity of an advocacy program, if we're not tracking, if we don't have a clear understanding in mind, you know, this is what we're aiming to achieve, it's difficult to advocate to have that be something that is, you know, continued across the business. And if we don't have anything kind of material that we can touch and show, it's really difficult to prove the success or to understand where we're going wrong and how we can fix it.
I think this is super. Just a curiosity there, and maybe you don't have data on that, but do you see any difference if you have some sort of gratitude for people who submit the review, or if you don't do that? Do you know any? Is there any like major difference there?
It's a good question. It's really tricky because there are so many nuances. I would say more often than not, an incentive more than a charity option outperforms. Which is pretty sad, but the truth. But I would definitely.
That's interesting. Yeah. And regarding goals, there, just to follow up on that, I think that's also really. We will get to that later, I think also, but. One of the challenges I think here is that you have in customer success, you have so many things, and this is like one of the things, as you said, on the list. You have your onboarding customers, you're doing turnarounds with risk customers, you're doing a lot of work, and to get this going and to make it really happen, I think it's really good to be really specific. Okay, now we want to have these many reviews or case studies or testimonials or whatever it is, to quantify it, and maybe even make some fun of it, like a competition, or make some activity around it, that everybody can. So we keep our eye on it.
Absolutely. The review campaigns the review campaigns and then the review strategy that tend to work best is when someone wonderful from usually marketing has this, you know, idea in mind. Okay, we need to build out some customer advocates, and they have a close partnership and understanding with customer success, so that it's clear, like, this is the vision, this is the reason we're doing this, and this is our ask of you. It can be very nice to offer some kind of prize to whoever collects the most reviews, or have a team goal and celebrate, you know, we've collected 100 reviews now, let's do something fun to celebrate that. So, you know, 100 reviews is pretty daunting, but if we're breaking that down into 5 reviews per person per month for the next 6 months, it just seems a lot more manageable. And it's exciting, you know, it's so wonderful, like getting a review. I love G2. They help so much with my outbound strategy, or, you know, the social content is a really like wonderful piece of my marketing. It's really, and even more so when the CSM is mentioned. So
yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And also I think it's an important way to keep the top of mind of the CSM team, because a lot of times I know you have really good conversations and you go out from a meeting or a call with the customer and they love you and your product. And if you don't have it top of mind, you won't ask for that review, perhaps. So having like a goal, having an activity around it, maybe a weekly, you know, status report. I mean, that keeps it top of mind as well. So it makes it easier to collect these reviews as well.
So true. And then sort of shouting about that throughout the company, you know, the CSM team's done such a great job of collecting 100 reviews over the last 6 months. Now we've created this collateral for the sales team to use about the specific feature of the product. Then sales will say, please, can you get more reviews? Then the CEO is happy. It's a really happy piece of a job.
It is. And I think also sometimes in customer success, you are low on resources, and and this is a great way also to show the value you bring to the organization. Yeah, we are doing all these things, but we also bring in reviews. We bring in advocates that sales can use, marketing can use. Maybe I would like to do more of that, but maybe you can help with some resources so I can spend more time there. So I think, I mean, it's a lot of value in this for the company, and I think if customer success can show on that value they bring in, it's gonna help them get more resources, get more attention, and so on, which sometimes is lacking. So I think it's important that way as well.
100%.
Cool. So we move on.
Great. I think I've skipped 2. I feel like we've touched on a lot of this, but again, bringing data into the mix really helps like bring things alive. So when we're collecting reviews, when we're curating these reviews, it can help us build a trusted brand and validate the leadership that we have or that we're building in whatever category we're operating in. We can then transform those reviews into creating content so that we can amplify the customer voice and momentum. It's great that my sales team that says G2 is wonderful, but even better if one of my clients tells another client that G2 is wonderful. And then, well, this is specific to G2, but we have a piece of our product whereby we can pass on data of companies doing research within your category. And from an advocacy perspective, you know, the end goal is growth. So also a good thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, no, but I think this is awesome. And I think a lot of people know about this, but let's talk about the hard things around this as well. Why I know I've seen this many times. You start an initiative, now we're gonna be collecting reviews, we're gonna focus on advocacy, but then it kind of like slows down or even ends or dies out. So what happens there, you think, and how can you make sure that you don't lose this momentum you have, or the initiative you started?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I see more than I would like to be honest with you. I think the biggest sort of blocker or reason for an unsuccessful advocacy program or something that kind of falls by the wayside is lack of a clear goal, because then we don't have anything that we're tracking for. So it's difficult to understand if we were successful or not. And then secondly, lack of buy-in from everyone involved, from everyone, that the success of an advocacy program or successful advocacy program could spread towards. If there isn't that vision or that understanding of the impact of what we're doing today and the result that it could have tomorrow, it's really tricky to have that on the list, let alone at the top of the list.
No, great points, I think. And what we talk a lot with the heads of customer success is this like capacity planning, because when you map it out, usually you have a lot of things the customer success team should be doing, but is there enough of time in the week to do them? And if you're not doing, if you don't have like getting reviews or that type of advocacy program part of the schedule for the CSM, then you can't expect it to continue forever, because they won't fit it in basically on the work schedule. So I think it's also important to realize that you need to set off time for people to do this work as well, internally, and also maybe, as you said in the beginning there, don't try too much, build it slowly, piece by piece, but don't lose the momentum, and keep it going for continuously. So it's not just a boost and then people forget about it and then you have to do it again. I think that's my experience. That's part of the problem as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think the nature of reviews, the nature of advocacy is that things change. So if we don't continuously have our finger on the pulse, you know, a client that's happy today, if we're not engaging with them, if we're not checking in, if we're not following up, you know, what was a 5-star review a couple of weeks ago is a churn risk today. So really good point. Yeah.
Cool. Just another thought there, or question. So sometimes I talk to people who are afraid of getting reviews or getting bad reviews. So I guess that's maybe that's stopping some people to even start, that they are afraid they will get bad reviews and then they will kind of, you know, that would hurt them more than help them. I guess that's something you get asked as well sometimes.
This is almost a daily question. Where we'll come to it a little bit later and we'll share the deck after, so we've got that there. It's sometimes a crippling fear to have anything bad, you know, mentioned about you in like a public forum. The reality is no one buys anything without reading a review. This is a universe that we don't live in anymore. And if we're only seeing positive reviews, we understand that there's something fishy, and we understand that probably there's, you know, something a little bit shady happening. Of course, if there's a serious problem with the product, then that's a bigger issue than a bad review. But a handful of, you know, challenging reviews is absolutely a good thing. It's also like the nature of review sites, you can filter to what you're looking for. So maybe it is just a bad fit for that customer, and anyone who is really being thoughtful about the purchasing decision that they're making. If they're an enterprise client and the frustration, you know, in the review was because they're an SMB and the functionality doesn't fit, even although on the surface it's a bad review, it's still really valuable and super helpful for whoever's ingesting that information. And then 2 more points is recency is super important. So if you're consistently getting reviews, a handful of bad ones is no issue. And then volume of reviews is important. And if you've got a good product, there are going to be more happy reviews than not. Yeah.
No, I think that's really, I think you're spot on there, that those things, I mean, it creates authenticity to your reviews when you have, and sometimes when you go in and see that they have responded to a bad review in a good way, that builds even more trust. I would say that they take them seriously and they try to solve the problem and they face it basically. I think it's also actually can actually even be a good thing.
Absolutely. And if
all right,
if the
time
review
flies
is,
here.
No, let's move on.
Yes. So maybe we are almost over the time here, but there's such a big topic, or there's so much to talk about here. So we could stay for hours more. But maybe a few more takeaways for the audience, and we could. I think we received one or two questions. We could take those as well.
Perfect. Very high level. Customer success is key, but this really should be a team effort. We've got the relationships, we've got the understanding, we're bridging the gap between stakeholders, but really important for everyone to be involved. And then in terms of takeaways, works best when everyone's involved. We need to have clear and measurable goals so that we can understand if we're moving in the right direction and adjust if we're not. And it really is easier and happier when everyone involved is interested and invested and keen to make an advocacy program work.
Super. So those are the main takeaways. Just a few questions before we end here. So one question here was around, do you see any trends between countries, markets? You mentioned some numbers there, but those I guess are overall, but I think it's interesting also for maybe European versus US or similar.
Mm-hmm. From a G2 perspective specifically, most of our traffic and most of our reviews are from America, but EMEA is our fastest growing region and APAC is just behind. Right. Huge uptick specifically in France and Germany and Israel, actually.
All right. Oh, really interesting. And in the Asia, do you, not to put you on the spot there, but do you know, is there any market growing or more important than the other there, or more active?
Our offices are in India and Singapore, and I mean India is the hotspot.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, cool. Last question: is video a thing for reviews?
Video is absolutely a thing. I have a client, Raidu, who asked one of their happy clients to leave a review for them. It is an incredibly endearing video. The gentleman sitting on his bed, he's just speaking through the product, why he likes it, what works for him, what he would, recommend to improve. And they attributed $100,000 worth of closed won deal to that video review. So absolutely, it's easier to ingest. You're, hearing from someone who's super relatable. So absolutely.
Great. That's really interesting. All right, Jade, this was great. Time flew by, but I think such an important and interesting topic. Thanks a lot for joining, everyone. And you will get the recording and all the material. Super. And see you all soon. Thanks.